Hi there and welcome. I'm Jordan from the blog Home and Motherhood, and today I'll be sharing a little research on how diet affects your lichen sclerosus. I know for me it was really helpful once I ended up focusing a lot on my diet, alleviating my symptoms of lichen sclerosus, and it hasn't come back in a few years. And so I just wanted to share a little research that I found on this topic, and I hope it's helpful to you and brings you relief and hopefully gets rid of your lichen sclerosus. So in many cases, it has been repeatedly shown that diet affects your lichen sclerosus. It can relieve your symptoms, and it can even slow or stop your lichen sclerosus. And I think that's something we should discuss openly in the lichen sclerosus community, is how diet affects our symptoms, how we're feeling, if it brings our lichen sclerosus on when we eat certain things. It is already known in science that nutrients can activate certain genes, and because a lot of people have the idea that lichen sclerosus is a genetic disorder, I think that we should really talk about and get into the idea of what nutrients could be activating our lichen sclerosus gene. And so I just wanted to talk about nutrients overall. I know for myself, in my experiences, I would get my lichen sclerosus be coming on, and I would cut back on sugar and gluten and coffee, and I was consistently getting relief from that. And so I knew that paying attention to the things I was eating actually made a difference in my lichen sclerosus. I know it could be different for everyone. If you haven't already seen my video on how I healed my lichen sclerosus, it really came down to a specific food that was triggering my autoimmune response. And once I took that out of my diet, my lichen sclerosus just has gone away, and it hasn't come back in a few years. So I think that there's a lot to the nutrients and figuring out what works for your body specifically. And the research is showing that foods that are high in oxalates are bothering people with lichen sclerosus. And so if you have lichen sclerosus, you may want to consider having a low oxalate diet, and that is avoiding foods like berries, sweet potatoes, citrus, like oranges, nuts, beans, coffee, chocolate, wheat bran, soy, and leafy greens. I know not all of those foods seem to bother me, but that's something you may want to consider. So there's quite a bit of research going on about having a low oxalate diet and also supplementing with a calcium citrate, and that is supposedly really helping people with lichen sclerosus. You may want to look up this information and see what kind of diet is best for you. I'll leave a link in the description of the website that I am referring to in this video. I really found it very helpful. Another aspect to lichen sclerosus and diet, there is also seems to be a link between histamine foods and lichen sclerosus, and so wanting to avoid histamines. And I just found out that actually when you eat leftovers, it rises the histamine level. I don't really know a lot about like that kind of thing, but I think that's really interesting. So if you have lichen sclerosus, you may want to avoid eating leftovers. Again, do your own research and find out like what the best thing is for your body. I know that everyone's body is different, and there's different ways of pursuing it. I know for me, I had really great success with focusing on my diet. I did not follow specifically an oxalate diet, like a low oxalate diet or any certain type of diet. I just know certain foods that bother me when my lichen sclerosus comes, and if I avoid this one specific food, my lichen sclerosus so far has not come back. So again, just like look into what specifically, like, is it for you? Is it oxalates, or is it histamines, or is it sugar? Which brings us into the next part, and that is sugar and gluten seems to really bother people with lichen sclerosus. I know for myself, like I said before, when I had my lichen sclerosus coming on, I would always cut back on sugar and gluten and coffee, and that made a huge difference for me. I think because sugar is nourishing like the unhealthy bacteria in your body is not as capable of strongly defending itself from like what is triggering and bothering you, which then results in your inflammation. And lichen sclerosus is a chronic inflammatory skin condition. So I think that there is something to avoiding sugar and gluten as well. I don't know a whole lot about gluten, but I just wanted the purpose of this video to maybe be a little bit eye-opening on how diet can affect lichen sclerosus, and provide you with a resource to help benefit you and so that you can feel better. I hope this video was helpful. I also think that there are other things you can do. I recently am looking into grounding. I think that could play a big role in lowering our inflammation. And I'll leave a link in the description below to my video about lichen sclerosus and grounding. I also have a video on different things that I've done to help me alleviate my lichen sclerosus. And like I said, I have a video on how I healed my lichen sclerosus, so I'll try to leave all of those linked below. I hope you have a great day, and thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.